Good evening and welcome to another episode of Exo Reality. I'm your host, Christopher Carson, attorney in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Today, a new fossil announcement drops out of the Sahara. A gigantic Spinosaurid unearthed in Niger, another chapter in the long, strange biography of this predation on this planet. The Reuters piece reports the discovery of a massive new species related to Spinosaurus, that semi-aquatic, crocodile-snouted leviathan that once prowled Cretaceous river systems. The animal stretches our imagination again. Africa, 95 million years ago, was not merely inhabited, it was ruled. A predator built like an architectural exaggeration. Long jaws, studded with conical teeth, a sail rising from its back like a banner of dominance. A body adapted for water as much as land. Nature experimenting with scale and violence. Why begin a podcast about Australia with the Cretaceous river monster from Niger? Glad you asked. Because it reminds us of something essential. For most of Earth's history, gigantism was not fragile. It was normal. Ecosystems could support animals that look, to modern sensibilities, like mythological excess. And when those giants vanished in deep time, they vanished for geological reasons. Asteroid impacts, volcanic winters, tectonic rearrangements. Then something changed. Not in the Cretaceous, much later. The protagonist is no longer a reptile with a sail. It is us. The nightmare continent of Australia. When anatomically modern humans first crossed into Sahul, that's Australia, between roughly 60 and 50,000 years ago, they did not enter a modest ecosystem. They entered what can only be described as a biological fever dream. Diprotodon, the size of a rhinoceros, grazing through open woodland. Thylacoleo, a predator with bone-crushing jaws. Towering short-faced kangaroos like Procoptodon, browsing upright. Massive flightless birds such as Genyornis, laying eggs that could feed a small band. Australia was not Africa light, it was evolution untethered from hominin pressure. Hominins are us. And within a few thousand years of our arrival, nearly every large-bodied animal over roughly 45 kilograms disappeared. Coincidence? The giants that had survived glacial cycles, drought oscillations, and ecological instability for hundreds of thousands of years evaporated in the same narrow window in which Homo sapiens appeared. That is not a coincidence that you can shrug off. A world without experience of us. Here is the asymmetry. Africa had co-evolved with upright apes for millions of years. Large mammals there knew how to read primate body language. They knew distance. They knew the geometry of threat. Sahul, Australia, did not. Australia was, in behavioral terms, an island. It had megafauna, had never encountered a cooperative, tool-using, fire-wielding primate with projectile technology and abstract planning. We were not simply another predator added to the food web. We were a new category. Imagine a world calibrated to crocodiles, marsupial carnivores, and drought. Then imagine inserting a creature that could coordinate socially at scale, communicate symbolically, carry fire, modify landscapes intentionally, hunt strategically rather than opportunistically. This is not merely predation, it is systemic disruption. The blitzkrieg hypothesis. The blitzkrieg model proposes rapid overhunting. Humans expand across the continent and eliminate naive megafauna before those species can adapt. It is dramatic. It is morally charged. It casts early Australians as the first ecological executioners. The hypothesis has teeth. The chronological overlap is strong. Humans are securely present by at least 65,000 years ago at Magellabebe. Megafaunal extinctions cluster between roughly 50 and 40,000 years ago. Humans arrive. Giants disappear. But the evidence is not theatrically clean. Direct kill sites are rare. Unlike North America, where mammoth bones sometimes show cut marks by humans, Australia offers few unambiguous butchery sites. No smoking piles of Diprotodon carcasses surrounded by stone tools. If we killed them, we did so without leaving a field of forensic confessions. Fire, killing without spears. The more subtle model is disturbing. Early Australians almost certainly used fire systematically. Charcoal records rise sharply after human arrival. Pollen sequences show vegetation shifts. Fire stick farming reshaped landscapes. It favored grasses and open mosaics. It simplified ecosystems. This may have been enough. Large-bodied herbivores operate on narrow energetic margins. Slight reductions in forage quality or seasonal reliability can tip reproductive balance. A species does not need to be hunted into oblivion if its birth rate quietly falls below replacement. We may not have massacred Australia's megafauna. We may have displaced them. Not with hatred, with competence. Now, climate as accomplice. Climate mattered, increasing aridity, enso-variability, fragmentation of habitats. The late Pleistocene was unstable. But here is the Bayesian problem. Australia endured severe climatic oscillations repeatedly before human arrival, without wholesale megafaunal collapse. The novelty in the system is not drought, it is Homo sapiens. That's us. The most parsimonious model is synergy, climate stress, plus landscape fire, plus opportunistic hunting, plus ecological naivete, meaning that they didn't see us before, they didn't have any experience of us, equals collapse, not a single bullet, a cumulative pressure gradient. Now, deep time versus human time. Return to Niger in Africa. The new Spinosaurid discovery reminds us that gigantism once thrived under planetary violence. Spinosaurus did not vanish because a clever primate modified river margins. It vanished in the end Cretaceous catastrophe. That is the asteroid that crashed into Earth 66 million years ago. Australia's giants did not. They disappeared in the presence of one species. We are not an asteroid. We are not a supervolcano. We are a cognitive multiplier. The first reckoning. Australia may represent the first continental test of what happens when Homo sapiens encounters a megafaunal system unprepared for us. Africa absorbed it because it co-evolved with us. Eurasia was already populated with clever apes like Neanderthals and Denisovans. Australia was pristine in that particular dimension. The pattern that begins there does not end there. North America loses mammoths and mastodons, giant ground sloths. Islands lose moa birds and elephant birds. Eventually, the Anthropocene becomes planetary. The nightmare continent was not cursed. It was unacclimated. The moral temptation. Now, there is a temptation to moralize this, to turn early humans into villains, or to sanitize them into ecological innocence. Both are indulgences. The data do not show genocidal frenzy, nor do they show innocence. They show asymmetry, a species with symbolic cognition, cooperative hunting, and fire management entered a megafaunal system with no prior calibration to such an entity as us. Collapse followed. The larger pattern. The Spinosaurid from Niger ruled its environment through muscle and tooth. It was large, but it was bounded by ecology. Homo sapiens, by contrast, is bounded differently. We alter selection pressures. We restructure trophic networks. We change fire regimes. We shift vegetation mosaics. We create second-order effects. We are not large in body. We're not even particularly strong. We are large in consequence. A final reckoning. If you treat this not as morality, but as inference, the posterior probability that humans were decisive contributors to Australian megafaunal extinction is high. Not sole cause, not theatrical slaughter, decisive contributor. Australia is the first rehearsal. The Americas follow. Islands repeat the pattern. The modern biosphere inherits the trajectory. The unsettling implication is not that humans are monsters. It is that humans are effective. The Sahara once supported Spinosaurids that dominated river systems through physical magnitude. Australia once supported marsupial megafauna that had never seen a primate with fire. Both worlds are gone. One fell to cosmic catastrophe. The other likely fell to cognition. That distinction is there because we are still here. And the question is no longer what happened 50,000 years ago. It is whether we understand what kind of organism we are now. Thank you. Please like and subscribe to ExoReality, and I'll talk to you next time.
Sure you save it.